Hello, I'm ED-SKaR, and I haven't done a live stream in a little while, and so all of my stuff is not lined up correctly. But we shall see how things go. And get started. I actually have something interesting to build today because I recently got the Empire of Japan starter army for Conflict 47. I've already built all of the infantry, and so I just have the vehicles to go. But right now, I have inside here, which I just opened a second ago, the Chiha. And so I'll be building that. Let's make sure I have all of the correct stuff. That's not correct. That is correct. And I don't need any of the rest of that, so I can put the box out of the way. See, interestingly, I'm getting an error on YouTube. Let's see if I can quickly do something about that. I probably cannot. Not on the fly, anyway. Yeah, a lot of stuff is locked. See if that helps. Probably doesn't. That has probably just made it worse, actually. We shall see. We shall see as we go. Right. Let's get stuck in for a little tank build. I've already put together the compression cannon turret for the Chiha, which I have here, which is only a couple of pieces. The cannon and the main body of the turret is one piece. The bustle just glues onto the back. I did sand the bustle down to make sure it was a flat surface going onto the flat of the back of the turret. And then there's a machine gun there. Interestingly, there is also, you can just about see it here, slightly darker material, another machine gun on the front of the turret, even though the rules for the Chiha, the Shiboru Chiha, do not have a machine gun on the front. It's got one on the back of the turret, and it's got one on the hull. It doesn't have one on the front of the turret. So, not sure what that's about. I guess it doesn't matter so much. I also should point out, because this is vaguely interesting, that the kit only comes with one cupola. That's this piece here. However, when you buy the Conflict 47 version of the Chiha, you get 3 turrets. You get the original little turret with the howitzer. You get the Shinhoto, the improved turret. So that's the howitzer turret. That will be the Shinhoto with these pieces turret, and that has an anti-tank gun. That's pretty good. And then you also get, obviously, the Conflict 47 turret with Shiboru cannon. But with all of these different turrets and all of these different cannons, you only get one of the cupola. So what I have done is I have made the design here to recreate it. I made this in 3D modeling software and 3D printed a couple, and they fit basically perfectly. Nearly perfectly. Allow me just one moment. I shall not be long. I have have just noticed the thumbnail for the stream is incorrect. Hopefully, it is now correct. There is probably a dozen other things going wrong as well, but we shall get to them as we get to them. So, to complete the turret, we would put the cupola in place, and then we could put the hatches on top of the cupola. This is the early type hatch. So it's got the larger kind of toilet bowl, toilet seat shaped, and then the smaller bit of hatch that goes in there. And just to show off that mine does in fact fit perfectly, absolutely perfectly. Let's throw that on there. And that there. Pretty happy with that. Happy with how that came out. Right, I'm going to pop all this away for the turrets because I will come back to that. Did I have another one out? I did. There we go. Put that back in the bag as well. So I've got 3 here, the plastic one and 2 printed ones, because that means I can make all 3 turrets. There will be, that I will come back to when we get to it, some smaller pieces for the turrets, which will be that thing. Haha, I've just remembered. I can do this with the new camera. There we go. I can show things nice and up close without having to worry about autofocus. So this wire thing, this lamp, I believe, and I don't know what half these things are, but I think it's these 3 components. You need to put those on the original and the Shinhoto turret, but you only get 1 of each. So I will be creating a duplicate version of each of these, but I'll do that off of stream because it's just easier to do that. Well, I can do it on stream if you really want, but I'll do that later because that requires the modelling software. Well, as this is a Warlord Games tank, we shall start with the tracks almost certainly. Is this an artillery? Is this an artillery kit? Let's see if we've got it written on the sprue. Warlord Games 2017, bolt action, type 97 Chi-Ha. It does not say who the OEM is. Bit of string or something on there. Nope. Doesn't say. Doesn't matter. Let's build. Let's actually build something. I don't think I need the instructions for one of these tanks. I've built so many. They kind of all build the same way, pretty much. Right. My brand new clippers, which I'm not sure I like, but we shall try them out. I mean, they work and they're nice and sharp, so can't really complain too much. I mean, I can complain, as evidenced by every time I open my mouth I complain. So there is that. Clicky, clicky, clicky. See, I'm hoping someone will actually post a comment in the stream. I've got viewer. Hello, how are you doing? Yeah, given that there was no announcement for this stream, I'm not surprised that we haven't had anyone show up straight away. It's also an odd time kind of weekday in the mid-evening. Okay, definitely liking the sharpness of, let's put that there, be sensible about it, of the clippers, but wasn't really able to get into bits of sprue like inside recesses here, much more suitable to get to with the knife. You would need some very, very thin, tiny clippers to get into there. There we go. So that's nope. There's another one. Oh, and another one. Oh, there's several more. Wasn't even halfway done. I mean, that was back on the side I did first, so I'm clearly paying attention. Yeah, so I remember this from when I did the ED-SKaR previously. We've got the tracks have kind of extended teeth on the outside, not really teeth, but as they go around the drive sprocket, they've actually, on the kit, they've actually modelled those kind of pegs on the outside as part of the drive sprocket. So you see here, this is the drive sprocket on the inside where it's not touching the track. So you've got the big teeth. And here on the outside, kind of the very front, you've got the teeth, and then in between them you've got the pins from the tracks. And so on the track pieces themselves, you actually don't have those pins here, and it all lines up. Does mean that it basically only goes together one way, but it's fine. I would like to make a proper like detract tank kit, maybe as a terrain piece or something, and that would require a clean drive sprocket. Maybe it wouldn't, because you could rip the drive sprocket apart and have it and have the as if the tank had been hit on its drive sprocket, or hit multiple times. I've made a mess of that one. So those are the top runs of track, and I'm pretty sure on this kit they are interchangeable. Yeah. So we've got gaps for the... These are the tops, aren't they? I think they are. Is there only 2 return rollers? No, there's 3. Oh, this the one in the middle is smaller. Ah, which means maybe... no, okay, there's no cutout for the middle return roller. So similarly to the teeth on the drive sprocket, where the return rollers are, there's actually a gap in the teeth on the tracks. So there, and then under my thumb there for the 2 larger return rollers, but the middle one, there's no gap. So I was wondering if it was cut out on one side so that tracks had to be put in a particular orientation, but that does not seem to be the case. What I could have done is, you know, read the instructions and looked at the numbers and worked out the correct pieces. But that's like easy mode, man. Easy mode. So is it 7:30 now? So I got on about 7:10. That's not too bad. I've been considering how and when I want to do live streaming. I probably want to keep my video release on a weekend, on the Saturday, and my like live streaming during the week, just to balance it out a bit. But we shall see how it goes. It depends on what I'm able to do. So I'm just looking at the bottom run of track now. I'm seeing the same kind of thing where the wheels, the road wheels go here and here and here. There are quite a few of them. Oh, there's 6 of them. Yeah, it makes sense. The teeth are cut out again for the road wheels, but they are not cut out to one side. They're just cut down them, kind of all the way across. Same with the missing track teeth. It's even on both sides, so I think the 2 runs of tracks can be changed from left and right. However, when I try to assemble them, we may find that that is not correct. This track is the one that... Is this the one that Miniac uses? So that is that. Top and bottom rung of tracks sorted. Yeah, the Chiha, the way they've done the 2 sections of track, it is a little bit sad because... Close up view. So this is roughly the correct shape for these pins. But because it's molded this way, when these bits are at an angle, these pins now don't line up with the track anymore. So if you see pin here and the pin here, they're kind of an oblong upright. And so when you come around to this section of track, these should also be an oblong upright, but they're not. They're at this kind of angle here, because that was the angle it is in the mold. Does mean it's easy to build, and it's just these couple of pieces on the sprue, but just one of those concessions for detail versus durability and cost and so on and so forth. It's not a big deal. It's a big deal. Ah, I'm mad. It's not a big deal. So this is the main section for the tracks. And this is definitely something I appreciate for a kit like this, for a wargaming kit especially. Because if you had this as a proper display model kit, every wheel would be 2 or 3 pieces. All of the suspension stuff would be a bunch of pieces. Road wheels, drive sprockets, everything to make sure they came out absolutely perfectly would be in all these different pieces, different shapes. And for a display model kit, that's great. You get exactly the look you want, and it's kind of a fun thing to build. But for a wargaming kit, well, it can be better to just have it easy. Sacrifice a little bit of detail for making it much quicker and easier to build. And it reduces the cost as well. Nope, that's not going to go that way around. So that goes that way around. And that does slide side to side. There's nothing here that's actually directly keying it in other than the missing pieces of teeth that correspond with each of the road wheels. I'm pretty sure that the Chiha had double wheels, and the tooth of the track would actually run in between them. Whereas this is like I'm saying, that the kind of slightly reduced detail of this kit means that this is just a single solid wheel because it's molded this way. So these are the drive sprockets. I think it's just, on this one, I think it's just the drive sprocket and then the tracks go on. Does it matter which side go? Yeah, it probably does. We'll work it out. We'll work it out. These Wall of Games tank kits are just so easy to build. I get there's so many people I see complaining about these kits. It's like, oh, they're confusing and difficult to build, and part numbers on the sprue are wrong, which is definitely true sometimes. But I've just never really had anything approaching an issue building them. Let's clean up some of that. Clean up some of that. Not really going to have much in the way of cleaning up for the tracks. It doesn't matter too terribly much. As long as there's nothing significantly out of place. Right, so that's the outer piece, that's an outer piece, and that's an inner piece. Right, clean up the inner pieces now. Did I already do one? Yeah, I already did that one. Did I do this one? I have no idea. I've lost track of which ones I've done. So if this is sensible, what will happen is that will go on there like that. That way. And then one of these will go on the top like that. And all of the teeth will line up. So you see, remember a moment ago I was discussing how you have the teeth of the drive sprocket with loose at the back, but on the outside where they're grabbing hold of the track, you've actually got the pins of the track molded into here, and the gaps are where the gaps are, pins are where the pins are, so that does look correct. Who needs part numbers? Just to absolutely make sure we're doing it correctly, let's put the other pieces on, and as you might expect, those pins are now on the inside where they can't be, so that definitely, they go with that side. Where did I put my cement? Where did I put my cement? Found it. We may be limited today by how much is left in here. This is my last tube at the moment. I have some super glue, but I'm not using super glue on the plastic yet. We shall continue on. We shall continue on until I run out of poly cement, and then we shall call it there. Right. So those are all the correct pieces. So that is the inner part of the drive sprocket. And the outer part of the drive sprocket. Go. Give it a wiggle to mix the cement in. And then hold it in place while it sets. And which way around did we have the tracks? That looks correct. So the top rung will be that way around. Yes. Yes, it will be. Alright, let's glue the top on first, I think. That makes sense. There was cement on the inside of the drive sprocket and on each of the turn rollers. Come back here. Ah, yes, so on the back of this one, you do have to convince it to line up side to side. Because the front, the drive sprocket, because of the way those pieces go together, it is very much kind of held captive by the way that those pins line up. There we go. But at the back, there's really nothing. There's some horrible sprue sprue gates there. We'll clean those up in a second. Let it dry first, I think. So that's that. I'm just going to gently hold that in place for a bit. Right. Move on to the other side. Do exactly the same thing. Should probably have checked it first. But we know how it's going together. It should be fine. It'll be fine, I'm sure. top piece. There we go. Got worried for a second that my cement was running out. Barely started. Want it to go for at least an hour. Come on. I might actually have enough to finish this whole kit. I have no idea. We shall see. The far more interesting part of this kit comes in the painting stage, because I have some ideas. Why don't you want to line up? Which bit's not lining up? No, I think we got it. So, front of my tracks are absolutely fine. The back of this one just needs the sprue gates cleaned off. And this one can have a little bit off the top one. There we go. Right, tracks complete. Was there anything that goes inside the body of this one? I don't think so. I know that there's the hull top goes on top of the hull top, but there was nothing that goes internally. Generally, they don't do that for these kits, but there have been some. Yeah, I'm coming around on these clippers. They are a lot bigger than my previous ones, but it is not proving to be that much of a problem. Got hair all over the sprue. I'm hoping it's mine. So this I like. You see there, those lines? Looks like it has been sanded. And almost certainly what that is the focus. Oh, there it is. Yeah, right there. Those lines. It's almost certainly been sanded, but it's not this piece that has been sanded, but rather it's the mold that has been sanded. And every time you cast something out of that mold, the impression of that sanding process ends up on every single piece that comes off of it, off of the mold. bit of flashing in this kit. This is a much more recent casting than my old one. So it's the mold has been used, and I guess it's starting to show its age. The detail of the pieces is still good, so it's not an issue. And flashing's easy to clean up. It's just a really big mold line, or it's a really tall mold line. It's not actually any wider in contact with the model. Kind of the actual contact point of flashing is often extremely thin, just as thin as a mold line would be. It's just taller, like away from the part. So cleaning it off is essentially identical. There we go. Now, I remember saying in my original video, this actually ended up in the final version of it, that I would keep the tracks separate, and for some reason I didn't do that. I ended up gluing the tracks on. I cannot remember why. So we should have front and back of the hull, which looks like that. I'm going to go with that. If it's not, I'll keep these parts aside. So is this the front? Or is this the back? Definitely fits at the back. Is there a picture of the back of the tank in it? There is not. Oh, there is. That's exactly what I needed. Perfect. Although what I actually needed was to, you know, read the instructions properly in the first place. But who's got time for that? Nope, didn't manage that. Trying to get the kind of scoop up the poly cement into the edge so that it would fill the gap. I mean, it kind of has. It'll be fine. You won't see that when it's finished. So this should be the front then, maybe. Yep, that's definitely that way around. wonder when it was I actually built my first Chiha. Because that thing was sitting half painted for over a year, I know that for a fact. Right. So now it's telling me to put on the hull top. But I have an idea about the hull top. I have a plan. That may or may not end up happening. But I shall at least give it a go, because I think it's an interesting plan. An interesting idea. Because the kind of these smaller hull top pieces, there's 2 of them. And so what I could do is paint one and the hull and the historical turrets in a vaguely historical-ish paint scheme, kind of bolt action appropriate paint scheme. And then I can use the other hull top with the Shiboru turrets. And paint the turret properly conflict. Paint the main hull, obviously will still be painted in that historical appropriate style. But then the hull top will be kind of a blend between the two. So it will be the same pattern as the hull, but it will include the colours from the turret, so it will kind of bridge the styles. And hopefully what that means is that I can put obviously with the bolt action appropriate colour scheme, I can use it just in bolt action and be happy, or with the conflict stuff. It plugs in a little tighter than I want it to. Please. Thank you. Why are you so... No idea how realistic it is to expect that to work. And it relies on a good paint job as well. Just wondering if there's flashing around the edge of these pegs. There doesn't seem to be. I'm pretty sure I've rounded that off. How about this one? So it looks like that's the early one and this is the late one. So I'll probably do the early one in bolt action colours and the late one in the conflict 47 suitable colours. This will almost certainly be... Ah, interesting. So how come that just pops on and off super easy and this one does not? I wonder if scratching these posts is actually just making them rougher to the point where they're grabbing more tightly rather than actually being any looser. So I don't want it to hold lightly, just like a nice gentle pull will get it off. That'll be fine. Happy with that. Happy with that. So I think both hole tops had some like armor panels around the side for rivets, but this only has the late hull top detailed in it because that's the one they are expecting you to use in conflict. Also this was like this before on my old one, and I never really 100% was happy with how it separates, but I think I worked it out. I think I did the right thing. I'll probably do the same thing here. But that sprue connection point is huge. Absolutely huge. Because look at all the other sprue connection points. They're like a nice sharp point. Whereas that's a huge bar. It's not terribly thick, but it runs all the way through. Dear whoever has this mold at the moment, can you please add some material on the molds right at that point so that that part comes out better? Not a big deal, I guess. So that should be, yeah. Ending up with shavings of plastic all over the place. Does it fit? Yes, it does. And actually, that does line up nicely with the front of the hull. Let's go with that. So now we should have flat panels for the sides, which is probably those. Because, yes, the ones with the hinges is going to be for the late hull top. No, those are going to be for the late hull top. Hold on, bear with me. I mean, what we can do is build both at the same time as we work out bit by bit what goes where. Clippity clip, clippity clip. So that goes like that. It does. So unsurprisingly, the sides are actually very similar. So I'm not actually sure which of those panels go on the newer and older hull top. We shall have to find that out as we go. So it's going to be those or those. Are any of those for the turret? I don't think so. Because I think that's... Yeah, the curved pieces are for the early turret, and the bigger curved pieces are for the late turret. So that's the front and back of the late turret. Yeah, so they're not. So what are they? If we can grab the pieces for the late hull, because we know this is correct. So 48 and 49 definitely go with the late. So 48 and 49. Really? Are they a difference? Oh, I see. Okay, that is part of my problem. Or part of what was confusing me. Because the turret's off-center, one side of the hull is at a shallower angle and this one's at a steeper angle, which means that this has a smaller armor panel and this has a larger armor panel. Huh. And is that the same on this? It is. Well then. that answers that. So 48 and 49 were, yeah, those two. Yeah, I haven't referred to the instructions a lot so far. I just want to double check on certain things. And when we come to the early turret and the Shinhoto turret, we're on our own. Oh, what time is it? It's gone 8 o'clock now. Lovely. Yep, so that goes nicely there. Have to be careful to make sure they actually sit in the place I want them to be, because if I knock them and the cement sets while it's still going, well, can always tear stuff back apart. But if I can avoid tearing stuff back apart, that would be nice. So that goes that way. Yep. Polycement has not failed me yet. Make sure they line up. That's good, that's good. So that should mean that those are for the early hull. Ah yes, and these kind of odd wedgy type pieces tuck in behind them. I remember that. I should probably do the smaller pieces first, because if I don't get that alignment perfect, it will be easier to fit the outer piece on than it will to fit the inner piece. Yep, that just goes on there. Oh, bit of squeeze out, that's no issue. Do those other hinge pieces go on here? Maybe? Which hull top did I build on my first one? I think it was the late. I think I built the late and I used the early hull top for my emplacement. Might be wrong on that. It was a while ago. I may at some point actually have to dig out my instructions. I have a whole collection of model kit instructions that I just keep them around because every now and again someone will ask, oh, does anyone know how to build this kit? And sometimes I have the instructions so I can send them some pictures of it. It's nice to have the a bit of an archive. Love rivets. Love rivets. They look great. Engineering wise, they're pretty bad, especially in military context, but they look cool. All about the rivets. I remember seeing a tool that would apply rivets to a surface, like a model kit tool, so that you could like fill it with Milliput, smush it down, and then you'd roll it across the edge of your part, and it would leave these little rivets. I wonder how good that actually was, because it might not be very good at all. I am noticing one small issue that I now can't. There we go. Gently lift up that. And I can pop the newer turret on, newer hull top on. Ah, I've just noticed something. The front of the hull, that piece, there's only one of those in the kit. So on my entrenchment, emplaced version, I just kind of covered it in mud. But on this, and I've glued that down now, so short of ripping it off, allow me to consider, because yes, I shall have to consider. There are some options, there are some other ideas I had as well that now may have to happen. Yeah. Or I just use the older hull top and just accept that I have to use that. Well, fine. What I can do is put the hatches for the hull in place. That was the peg for the turret, wasn't it? So we definitely don't need that, given that we'll be swapping between turrets. How much Japanese armour do I have now? Because this is my second Chiha. And I've got a Type 94 tank hit, which is rubbish. I have got a printed what's it called? The tiny one. The name has escaped me. +3 anti-tank gun. That's it. But it's got 2 machine guns and it's 95 points, so it's actually not a disaster. There are very few units that are genuinely bad in bolt action. The medic springs to mind, and so does the chaplain. Did I miss anything? No. I'm doing the compiler later. I'm not going to put the machine gun in the hull until I've worked out what I want to do with that. And then hatch. Oh, the lantern. 37. Yeah, that. Putting this on so early in the build is pretty sketchy. The probability of me knocking this off is high. Well, we'll leave that there to set. If I want to change hull tops, I have to use the smaller late hull tops exhausts. So where's the exhausts? The exhausts are there. So that pipe is longer than that pipe, so I have to use that one. Because that one fits with both, and that one only fits with the early one. Strictly speaking, if you put the late exhausts and the early hull top on, there's a gap, but it fits. And if it fits, it sits. And there was no keying for this exhaust. It just kind of sits on the back, doesn't it? It just sits like that. Yeah. Yeah. And then putting the early hull on, that ends up being kind of like that, and there is a little bit of a gap. Not fussed. Not fussed. We do have to glue them in place with the late hull top on so that they're positioned correctly. just shaved off something that might actually supposed to be there. I'm not sure. It doesn't look out of place, so I'm going to leave it. This tank has an extra rivet for no reason whatsoever. So what do the exhausts actually look like? Yeah, the exhausts go right up to the edge of the track guard. So that is correct. Kind of like that. Yep. And we glue it to the track guard, but we do not glue it to the movable hull piece, because that would just mean you wouldn't be able to remove it. Well, it actually does have, ever so subtly, it does have a slight curve to the bottom surface of the exhaust. That helps you position it forwards and backwards correctly. And the only thing helping you position it side to side correctly is like touching it up against the hull top piece. There you go, so it's the exhaust's in place. It's kind of what we need, I think, for the hull. It's machine gun to go on the hull, on the early hull top, and then. So, my plan. There's no one actually watching the stream at the moment, is there? Hello, if there is anyone. My plan for the Conflict 47 Chiha, which may work without having that piece from the early hull top, or the piece that would have to be on one or the other, I've now glued to the early hull top. I don't need that for this, because what I'm going to do is extend this out with some Milliput, sand it back, attach some vision port and a machine gun to it, because that will then be an up-armoured version of the Chiha. And I might even manage to put some samurai armor like the Scorpions have. Just put them over the front of the tracks, because that would be cool. Because with an up-armoured Chiha, you can call it a Chi-Nu, because a Chi-Nu is the same chassis and suspension as the Chiha, just with an up-armoured hull. There are some other changes as well between the tanks, but largely that is true. There's towing hooks and tools and stuff like that. And a box. There's a stowage bin. Is that the lid for the stowage bin? I think it is. Let's grab that. Because that just goes on the back of the hull, doesn't it? Which way round does it go? because I sure as hell can't remember. I'm going to go with those hinge details being on the outside. That way? Yep, okay, those angles line up. So that seems likely. Hinges go against the hull because that means the angle is correct between the two pieces. Does that just glue on there? Is it that simple? Yes, yes, I think it is. There's no keying for this, so I'm just going to guess that it goes in the middle. That also means I have to guess where the middle actually is. That looks about right. Close enough, I think. I'm not going to fight it. What else is there? Got all of that. Tools. Ah, tow hooks. Did I say tow hooks earlier? Maybe I didn't. So it looks like this sprue is now done. We've got, that's the pin for the turret, which we're not using because that means you fix the turret to the hull top and you can't change them. Right, there's nothing else on that sprue. I'm going to chuck that sprue aside, and then we have just this left. I may have to start making the turrets so that I can use up the bits and make sure I've got everything lined up, because we've got some things here that look like they're for the, that they don't look like turret parts, they look like hull parts, and I'm not sure. Shinhoto turret and the early turret. Oh wait, let's do the tow hooks because we were doing the tow hooks. So another thing I'm liking about these clippers is because they're so sharp. This might just be because they're new. They're not pinging pieces across the room like my old clippers do. Oh, I can feel his knees coming on now. That's not great. So put them there so I don't lose them. Oh, these just glue to those. Yeah, they do. Oh. These glue points for the towing hooks are quite awkward. As I said, quite awkward. How are you doing that? Kind of pushing it one way and it's twisting consistently, and I'm not sure what it's attached to be able to do that. Well, you're fiddly and annoying and in the wrong place, but you will be securely secured. Do I have? Encouragement devices. Between the towing hooks on the back and the lantern on the front, I'm surprised that they haven't all gone missing, but we have survived thus far. We have survived this far. So we do need those on the front of the tracks. Yeah, right. I'm going to have to start building the turret now, which will give those tow hooks time to dry. So if I start building the turrets with no instructions at all, because the Conflict 47 instructions that I have here do not include either of the plastic turrets. So let's pop all of that aside for the moment. And let's see what we've got. I vaguely remember how to build the Shinhoto turret because it was relatively easy. So these are the sides of the Shinhoto. That's the back for certain. Is that the front? Not 100% that that's the front, actually. Let's find out. So if that is... Oh, it certainly likes being there. It's the right shape for it. I'm going to go with yes. I'm going to go with that is correct. I'm going to put the sides on. Is this the one where I glued the front of the turret down and then I tried to put the top on and the top wouldn't fit? That may be this one. It wasn't a problem because all the poly cement was still wet, so I just kind of shuffled it all around, smushed it back into place. Yeah, let's do it in that order. But let's also move quite quickly, quickish, so that in case that is the wrong order, it doesn't matter because we can just smush stuff around again, like we did the last time. I didn't test fit. I didn't dry fit the back of the turret. It's gone on. It's gone on. We got lucky. Well, whether I remembered correctly or not, it has worked. It does look correct. So that bigger gun will be the anti-tank gun for the Shinhoto, and then the smaller gun, which is there, that one, that will be the howitzer for the early turret. Probably goes that way up. Nothing actually preventing you putting it in the upside down. Yep. sometimes you just need a reference image. Oh, that is too much. There we go. So all of the little bits that go on the turret I'm going to have to sort later because I need to duplicate them for the other turrets. And the hatch as well I'll do later because I need to shuffle bits there as well. So let's do the early turret, which, as I remember, was trivially easy because every single component is completely different shape. And it only goes together the correct way. And I'm just going to go with it being these 4 bits. It's also nice that the turret top for the early turret is just a big block that everything glues to, whereas the Shinhoto doesn't really have that. The turret top is just the top surface, whereas that's a big block that everything glues to the side of. It's not a big deal, not a big difference. Although the amount of poly cement I put on there, maybe a little excessive, just as such. I didn't clean up these parts. Clean the sprue injection points off of the other parts before I try and glue them together. How long have I been making models? I should have learned this by now. Is that flashing? Yeah, that's flashing. Which one goes where? That one goes there. Am I running out of poly cement? Very nearly. Is that side? It is. Has that gone into place correctly? sure. Yeah, it's close enough. That's close enough. Alright. Tops of all of these armor side, the side panels of this turret need to line up with the top of the turret. And that will need to dry. So what do we have left? The aerial. What's that? It's a box. There we go. Howitzer for that turret. Yep. Trying to put in too much cement like I did on the last one. And I've put in too much cement like I did on the last one. So that's that. So we've got little bits for the turret that I need to duplicate. Tools for the outside of the hull that I might use or I might not. Those are for the front of the tracks that I need to glue on. That's for the hatch. That's A's for the hatch. We're not using those. That I do need to use. So yeah, I need to work out what these other parts are, because I suspect they're for the early hull top. But I don't actually remember what they're for. Well, that was a mistake. I have no idea what happened there. Well, I know what happened, I just don't know where it's gone. So the aerial for the early turret, I said that these clippers don't send things flying across the room, and they didn't, because I clipped it all off, and then as I was pulling it away, it caught, and because it's a long thin bit, it acted like a spring, and as it pulled out of my fingers, it sprung away, and I have no idea where that ended up. I'm not even sure how far it would fly. Gonna have to sweep my room, I think. I do that regularly anyway, so it's not an issue. Ah, dear. Right then. So, because of my 3D printer, I do have 3 of the hatches. I think I want to put the real hatch on the Conflict 47 turret. Is that true? Probably. Oh, hello. Why do you not fit? You do fit. You're just very tight. I shall have to adjust that to make sure that oh wait, no, never mind. It's just some gnarly bits on the print. Oh, it seems like because this does fit in the yeah, there you go. That's it. So it looks like all the games have made the resin turret, the hole here for the resin on the resin turret for the cupola, a little bit larger, just the tiniest bit larger. So it's not. There's no fitment issue going on. That means that these are pretty snug going in the plastic ones. That's not lined up how I want it. Well, if I'm not able to get it out, it's gonna be that angle forever. It's coming. It's coming. There we go. Right, line you up sideways correctly. There we go. Looks like I won't need to glue these because they're just pretty securely fixed into place. I want to glue the aerial on, but it's gone. It's gone. The aerial has abandoned me. I thought I heard it kind of clattering over to my side here, but it is dark. It is winter, and I've only got these lights on my desk. Weirdly, this camera view is very, very bright for some reason. That's better. Is that better, or is that just... Well, no, don't mess with that. That was the hue. Why was I messing with that? Problem is, this is just a nasty old webcam. That is better. It is not worse. And that's about all I can say. Did it just... As soon as I shut that down, it just went back to automatically messing around. The one thing I have always fought constantly throughout all of my recording days, all the way back to the earliest videos I've ever done, I've always been fighting against auto features, auto white balance, auto focus, auto this, auto that. Just constantly messing around with my videos. I want to lock everything up. I'd rather it be slightly wrong than constantly changing and very wrong. There we go, the old-fashioned commander. Did I put my... I don't remember. I think I put my original commander on my Shinhoto, so I should probably put it on my early turret this time. And then I'll find a different commander, a cool one for this. Yeah, let's go with that. So I'm definitely not using these exhausts. So I'm going to snip them off and chuck them in. I've got a pile of bits over here. I'll deal with those some other time. I have a bag of tank bits somewhere. So I've got 2 sets of hatches. Ah, right. So that means I do need to actually make hatches as well. So on Cult 3D, I currently have just the cupola listed. So just this bit. And what I want to do is I want to add these bits. Or whatever that is, hook. I know whatever that is, peg. Because you need both of those for both turrets. And you also need machine guns for... You need 3. 1 for the hull. I need 4. Because I'm using both hull tops. But you need at least 3. And you only get 2. So I need to make at least one of those. And if it's 3D printing, you can print off a second. Or a third or a fourth, however many you need. So that's not an issue. What I'm going to do, I think, to work out what these are, because I do not know, I cannot remember what they are. I think they're for this, but I'm just not sure. If they go like that, there's a gap underneath it, which doesn't make much sense. Yeah, I'm going to go and grab my box. It is up there. I shall just be a moment. Right, as I mentioned, I have a vast collection of instruction booklets for various things and a battle map. Eschers, Vogelspinne, Nachtdalben, Kettenkrad, a Greyhound, Karamoto. Here we go. Chiha. Lots of other stuff as well. Yep. So it does not have the Italeri logo on the instructions. So this clearly is not an Italeri kit, which explains why it was not on the Conflict 47 instructions either. So we did all that. We did that. We have not done that. We've lost that piece because it pinged across the universe. and this piece and this piece and this piece we need to duplicate. We're not using that, so that's all understood. Yes, yes, we still need to put those on. Here we go. Yes, it is. Okay, so that is for the early hull top. That's strange. So if I go back to the early hull top, and cut these out. So they go like that. And then they're just hanging out like that. That's weird. Is that correct? Are you sure? Excuse me, are you sure? Yeah, yeah. That is quite clearly an overhang there. Huh. Right then. Figured that bit out. So that goes in. Is that supposed to touch against that armor panel? Because at the moment it does not. It does nicely hide the gap that we've made with the exhausts. I do not think I put these on my entrenched early hull top that I did before. I do not remember doing these pieces. Maybe I did. Maybe I did, but I do not remember them. Yeah, that's the same. It doesn't quite touch against the armor panel. Oh, that's not happy. I mean, that doesn't look terrible, so actually happy with it. Yeah, so I don't think I can put the tools in place because for the older hull top they go here on these big open panels, but when you put the late hull top on, most of that is now covered and you put the tools on the top hatches here. So I think I will leave the tools off, which is a shame. So what's that last piece? Yeah. So it's that toolbox goes underneath one of those panels. Okay. Have I missed anything? Yeah, we haven't done the tools. So I think it's just these two pieces now to go on the front of the tracks. And then we're done. Don't need the whole top actually, so I'll tuck them and my turrets away for the second. Slide all of this neatly into a pile so I don't lose it. Right, so the way that these go on, I'm fairly certain it's not by pinging them across the room. No, I was right. So once you put the tracks on, there's a little line detail just there, and on the little disc loop things that I'm putting on, there is a cutout that I think is for that. Yes, I'm relatively certain that is correct. So does that mean I can still take the track off without disturbing that part? This may have been the reason why in my original build I did not keep the tracks off when I painted them. I glued them on, and it may have been this part that caused that. If I put that in place, can I? Yes, I can. I'm going to have to hold the tracks in place while these set. Which is not going to be that arduous, just going to be fiddly. Fiddly is correct. Right, there we go. I am now stuck. I now cannot move, or can I? Oh, actually I can. I can just gently tuck those away. Yeah. Ah, everything is in so many pieces. Organising this for painting is that camera view. That camera view definitely is mucking around. That's better. But will you stay there? You will. Let's see if it's... no, you won't. Although this one still has some auto brightness feature, even though I've turned all of the settings on that one off. This annoys me. So I have two sections of track. I have the main hull. And I have the early hull top complete. The late hull top is not yet complete because I need to redo the front of that with some up armor and some Conflict 47-y stuff. Then we have the Shinhoto and the early turret. And the early turret's lost its aerial because I pinged it across the room, and both of them need those tiny pieces. Because there's only one set, and I have two turrets that need them. And then I have the Conflict 47 turret. Do I put the commander in there? I'm not sure. I haven't decided. I'm not gluing the hatches down until I work out where the commanders are, but also I need to make another version of the cupola with hatch fitted so that people can just use that and have a closed hatch. I'm not making both. I'm just going to make the late one because it's a simpler design. Yeah. Just a disc with some stuff on. That's nice and easy to do. Which means I probably will use this hatch on this one. If you don't muck about. There we go. There we go. And I will use this hatch on this one. Oh, this is too fiddly. There we go. Not quite fitted correctly, but I will come back to that later. Well then, I have achieved everything I set out to achieve, which is to build a Chiha and to work out what parts I need to remake in software. I'm going to cut away these bits because I don't need to recreate them. that is some kind of toolbox. We have a spade and a pickaxe. There we go. Is there a way to use these? I could glue them on one of the hull tops. I could glue them on the early hull top, which is the one I'd be using in bolt action. But I can't, no, I can't put them in the normal place though, because the normal place would be actually on the track guard. Yeah, I think I just have to go without. That's a shame. I'm not putting 680 magnets in this thing to have them all line up. And then there is the jack. Which, yeah, same story. I won't be using because it's one place or the other for it. Right, so that makes sense for me. Got a little hooky thing, a little peggy thing, a machine gun barrel, and the hatches to make. And I think we shall end the stream by putting the late hull top and the Config 47 turret. Let's see if I can put the tracks on without knocking those bits off. There you go. Doesn't that look cool? That does look so cool. Yeah. Well, thank you very much to anyone who was watching live and to anyone who watches this in the future, on account of I will be linking this in my build video for the Chiha, the conflict Chiha, which will come eventually. But for now, yeah, I'm all done. So thank you very much for watching. I'm ED-SKaR, I always will be, and I will see you next time.